Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to an exclusive webinar with Sampath Reddy, Chief Investment Officer, Bajaj Allianz Life on Union Budget 2021, Market Reactions and Future Outlook. Union Budget 2021 has had a series of announcements that are designed to enable growth recovery in the economy, and we will soon have Sampath talk about them and more. Sampath Reddy leads an experienced team of fund managers at Bajaj Allianz Life, and collectively, they enable our customers meet their life goals and strengthen their trust in the brand. Under his leadership, Bajaj Allianz Life has recently crossed a huge milestone of rupees 70,000 plus AUM, which further signifies the trust of our customers in the brand. Sampath has been with Bajaj Allianz Life for over a decade now. Prior to this, he has led fund management teams at Principal PNB Asset Management, Hedge Fund Voyager, HSBC Securities and Capital Markets, amongst other firms. Ladies and gentlemen, the webinar will begin shortly. Please feel free to ask your questions from the Q&A panel provided. Do share your names and details there. We will attempt to respond to as many questions as we can at the end of the session. Now, without further ado, let me hand it over to the speaker of the day, Sampath Reddy. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ankita. I welcome all of you onto this session from Bajaj Allianz side. The way we have structured this session is, I will make a few slides of presentation regarding how we are looking and interpreting the budget and what are the implications for various sectors and companies. And after that, and simultaneously you can post your question on the website, and Ankita will be collecting all those questions on behalf of you, and we'll be asking those as soon as the slide presentation gets over. Thank you very much. And just to overall, market has cheered the budget very well, and it's one of the strongest rallies we had seen on the budget day in the many years. What has been the key takeaway of the budget is that the budget in terms of revenue and expenditure numbers and where the money government is looking to raise the funds and all of that taking together, I think the biggest takeaway from this budget is that there's not been any increase in the taxes, given that it was a COVID year where the significant slippage in terms of revenues, and there's been a lot of demand for spending more and more, government to spend more and more to kickstart the economy. There was a lot of fears that there will be a substantial increase in the taxes so that the government is able to spend that money to kickstart the economy. But to the surprise, to the market surprise, government really did not resort to the raising taxes in order to garner the revenue so that to spend that money on the economy. But what the government has done is actually they have resorted to the borrowing. They are borrowing from the bond market, and even at the cost of a little bit of a slippage and the fiscal deficit, they're borrowing that money and spending in the economy so that the economy comes back in a growth path quickly. So that was the biggest takeaway from the budget. And also the overall numbers, if one were to look at it, the numbers of the revenue estimates, if one were to look at it, they appear to be very reasonable. And in fact, some of the expenditure which used to be on the off-balance sheet side, they brought it under the the budget numbers so that the transparency of the budget numbers is actually elevated in a significant manner. So some of these things have actually led to the positive sentiment in the market. We'll try and see some of those numbers and how it is having to have an impact in various sectors. In fact, this financial year for the FY22, overall the revenues are actually growing by 23% to almost 20 lakh crores of rupees. And if you look at in detail, in fact, the tax revenue assumption is only about 15%. That is very reasonable given that nominal GDP is expected to grow around 14%. The tax revenue growth of about 14% is not at all a huge task. And of course, the last financial year On the divestment side, we could not do much because most of the period markets were subdued. In fact, March, April, we had a huge sell-off. It took some time for the markets to rebound. Obviously, in those difficult conditions, it was difficult to do the divestment, because of which there was a slippage in the divestment in the last financial year. But again, this kind, as the markets have improved substantially and markets are quite buoyant, I think 1.75 lakh crores of divestment target, which will be very much easily achievable. Because of that, overall revenues for the government are growing by 23%, and that's where the good buoyancy in terms of revenues. And in fact, if you were to look at it, how the government is spending this money, overall, there's a 20 lakh crores of revenues that the government is getting, and on top of it, but overall, if you look at the government expenditure side, the government is spending about 35 lakh crores of rupees in this coming financial year, which is still a good growth of about 1%, but that is again largely, last financial year there was an extraordinary spending. On top of it, there was some adjustment which was in the off-balance sheet expenditure, because of which optically the growth appears to be lower in terms of expenditure side. But if you adjust for this again, 35 lakh crores of rupees of spending in the coming financial year is again a good expenditure. I think the economy will certainly come back to the pre-COVID levels of growth by the time we walk into the second half of the financial year. As I mentioned, large part of this extra expenditure that the government is doing, a large part of this the money that the government is spending is apart from the tax revenues, is mostly coming from the fiscal borrowing, which is again, this financial year government is likely to borrow almost about 12 lakh crores of rupees, which is slightly on the higher side than the expectations. Given that the government is not taxing any incremental rate to the corporates or individuals, this is pretty much fine overall. So that these are the key the headline numbers in terms of budget. If you look at the bit of details in terms of numbers where the the revenues are coming from, overall the direct taxes are growing about 22% in this financial year. Again, out of that, within that, corporate tax, the taxes which the companies pay to the government, that is likely to grow about 23%, which is still a reasonable number, given that given that in FY22 is going to be a recovery in earnings for the corporate sector, if by and large, if you look at most of the estimates in the market, corporate profits in FY22 are likely to grow in the range of somewhere 25 to 30%. Given that corporate profits are growing very well, or in the current financial year, the corporate tax growth assumption of 23% is clearly doable, and income tax is likely to probably grow around 22%. And overall, indirect taxes are growing by 11%, which is mostly the the GST and excise duty. The 11% growth, I think, given that nominal GDP growth of 14%, the indirect tax growth appears to be again very, very reasonable. Overall, the market is liking this budget because the numbers put out is very, very realistic, and also the transparent, because some of the in the past there were some of the expenditure which was pushed onto the government agencies like Food Corporation of India or NHAI, etc. These were now taken onto the government balance sheet itself, which means an improved level of transparency. I think these were the reasons why the market is liking the overall budget in terms of numbers wise. But in terms of tax to GDP, still at about 9.95, 10%, which is still, I think, relatively lower than what we have seen in the past, which means government is not really taxing as much. As I said, they are resorting to mostly their borrowings rather than taxing the corporate sector or individuals. This is the divestment numbers, for the last several years. This financial year, government is looking to raise about 1.75 lakh crores of rupees by divesting stakes in the public sector companies. In fact, the in this budget, what market liked the most is that the emphasis towards not just the divestment, but towards actually the privatization. It is not that government is actually looking to, just sell stocks in a piecemeal basis. The privatization is something which, we had not seen in the last many years. Last major privatization that we had seen is something like, selling off of IPCL or a VSNL or a Hindustan Zinc or a, Balco, or some of these things had happened, more than a decade ago. So we have not seen any major divestments in the recent times. Of course, HPCL had happened. I would not call it as a really, privatization, because it's sold from government to another public sector unit. But in this budget, government is, clearly spelled out that they intend to privatize some of the public sector companies which are in the non-core area. So, they're looking to divest BPCL, Concor, BEML, Air India, and some of the other companies as well. But bigger ones are the BPCL and Concor, where they're going to get the significant amount of money. And also they're looking to, list the LIC, which is again one of the largest insurance companies. All of these things are likely to, give a good revenue to the government in the current financial year. And not only that, they are also looking to, privatize two of the public sector banks, and maybe one general insurance company will also be privatized. Look at the thing, it's privatization, not the divestment, not just selling 5%, 10% shares and, in the equity market. That's not what the government is actually looking at. They're spelling out very clearly that, some of the PSUs can be, given it away to the private sector totally. So which is, which is a big positive in the sense, as you see in the currently, most of the public sector companies, are trading at a very, very lower price to earnings and price to book multiple, largely because, the way they're run, the way they're, they utilize their capital employed, and all of that thing taking together, they're not getting a price earnings multiple or a price to book value multiple, something similar to that of the private sector. It's good that, some of these companies goes into the hands of the private sector, so that overall the capital efficiency and, productivity improves substantially. And the government stated intention is to, barring not only this, overall intent is very clearly spelled out that, barring few sectors where, which are of strategic importance, outside of that, most of the areas, the government is intending to, privatize the companies, which is again, very market is liking it quite a bit. So that's the on the divestment side. In terms of expenditure, this year, as I mentioned, the government is going to spend 35 lakh crores of rupees. And the good thing is that, the bulk of the spending, rather substantial growth is taking place in the capital expenditure, which is a good thing. Only thing is, unfortunately for India, the bulk of the government revenues will rather expenditure, goes towards the revenue expenditure, which is, meeting, which is towards interest payments and servicing the debt, and towards subsidies, and also largely towards, the salaries and wages and in the government sector. Almost about 50% of the, money goes towards, these 3-4 headline numbers, and even the rest of the, a substantial amount of money government spends on a revenue account. But, on the capital account side, unfortunately, the very limited amount of money is available. Even that, whatever the number is there, there's a substantial growth taking place in this financial year. That's one. And secondly, as I mentioned, if you see in the chart there, historically the government has been just borrowing almost just about 4-5 lakh crores of rupees. But last financial year was an exceptional year because of the COVID. The overall borrowings went up a lot, and the coming financial year also the government is looking to resort on the borrowing side of it rather than taxing more on the people. Let's look at some of the key budget proposals and how the implications of that and some of the other sectors. Overall, the overall healthcare has got a very good emphasis in the budget. Of course, the 35,000 crore rupees towards COVID vaccination is one thing, but apart from that, on the PM Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana. Under that program, government is planning to spend about 64,000 crores of rupees, of course, over the next 4 years, next 5 years. This is substantial amount of money. This money is going to go to into creating the infrastructure towards healthcare, whether it is to come up with a new hospitals or a new laboratories for testing, etc. Those kind of infrastructure will be created by the government. There's a substantial amount of allocation is towards this sector, which is a good thing. And also, some of the operational aspects of it, some of the software aspects of it, like for example, steps to simplify the tax administration. This is again, is a very welcome move. Most of the income for the individuals will be pretty much come in a pre-filled manner, and the faceless assessment, digital assessment, digital filing, all of that is already going on. And also, in terms of opening up the tax cases, which was earlier scheduled, limit was up to 6 years. They brought it down to 3 years unless it's really warranted. So overall, I think tax administration, the transparency is improving in a significant way. That's a good thing. Some of the even like cigarettes and alcohol typically used to be every budget attract more and more taxes, and in this budget, not even these sin goods, whatever we call it, is not even those things are also not taxed incrementally in this budget, which means but this time the government is not at all increase the taxes on any of the goods. Sometimes typically every budget one would have seen some increase in taxes either on the tobacco or on the alcohol or on the the luxury or high-end cars which used to take place. Even those items the government did not touch, or rather government did not increase the taxes in this budget. Largely this is completely from a tax hikes point of view pretty much neutral status quo. And most of the most of the expenditure of the government is actually coming from the borrowing side. So that's what is a significant positive factor for the market overall. And some of the other areas, some of the other developments which government has announced in this budget was the customs duty and the gold has been brought down. Of course, that's a small positive for the retail individual investors. The affordable housing program, which government has launched in the past, which the benefits of under this scheme, they have extended for one more year till the March 2022. Again, affordable housing is one of the key engines of growth for the in the real estate sector, and also in the housing and allied sector. It has been attracting good level of investments because of this program, and the same benefits have been extended for one more year. And some of the other measures in terms of infrastructure, especially in the gas pipeline side, they are looking to roll out the CGD in 100 more districts. That's again more and more gas pipeline infrastructure will be created. Of course, this is over a long period of time. And also government is coming up with a sort of an InvIT for gas pipeline infrastructure side. Again, that's with the more and more capital will be made available for the infrastructure in creation of the oil and gas pipeline network. So that's these are some of the things, and to give more and more emphasis towards the local manufacturing or domestic manufacturing. What government has done is that they've increased the custom duty in some of the areas, be it in the automobile parts, or it's some of the electronic items, or some of the items which go into the refrigerator and air conditioners, etc. So some select sectors, select products, the government has increased the customs duty, so primarily to actually focus, encourage the domestic manufacturing. So overall, the thrust on the domestic manufacturing continues. Of course, we have seen the PLI, production linked incentive scheme, launched sometime a couple of months back, that is again, the program which is targeted, or rather encouragement towards domestic manufacturing. So those intents and those the policy push continues to be there in the current budget itself. Another, positive, I would say, a significant move towards the automobile sector is that some sort of a voluntary scrappage policy is being announced. For the commercial vehicles up to 15, and if it and 15 years, and if it's private vehicles up to 20 years, those vehicles on voluntary basis can be looked at of scrapping of those vehicles. Again, this will give, the scrappage policy is really long awaited. Some step has been made, some progress has been made in this budget. Hopefully, more and more stronger legislation will come as we move ahead towards the scrappage policy. That will again create a more new demand for the automobile sector. And fertilizer also, there's a good amount of increase in the fertilizer subsidy allocation. What does it mean is that with the good allocation, the most of the fertilizer companies which were having to spend a lot of money in the working capital, they will be able to realize their the cash in a much faster way. That's again good for the fertilizer sector. Probably what is the miss is that there was for the export sector, there was not there is no replacement for the erstwhile merchandise exports incentive scheme. That I think is not yet announced in this budget. Hopefully we will see that as we move ahead in the current financial year. Reduction in basic customs duty in the steel products is slightly, negative for the steel sector, but in the domestic market, steel prices have already done quite well, so it's not really a big concern for the the steel companies either. You all notice that banking sector has done exceptionally well on the day of the budget and subsequent days. There's been a few good announcements for the the banking sector. Especially the bad bank thing, which is basically a proposal to set up an asset reconstruction company. Where this company will probably take over the the bad assets of the banking sector. And manage them and overall, or either dispose of to an alternative investments or over a period of time. This will probably help the banking sector to sort of clean up or reduce their stressed asset exposure, and shed the, let's say, past baggage and move on. That will be the this particular proposal will help the banks to shed the past NPAs and move ahead. That's a significant positive step. And the development financial institution, government is looking to create or set up a development financial institution, especially towards funding infrastructure side. To this, an initial capital of about 20,000 crore is being allocated. Probably earlier we had seen some of the DFIs converting into the bank, because of which that place is that infrastructure is not really getting a good capital or a sufficient funds, I would say. In the past also government had come out with other initiatives, but in this in this budget they are coming out with a new initiative of setting up a development financial institution, which will focus on lending money towards infrastructure, because infrastructure is slightly a riskier sector, and takes much longer time to break even or generate the cash flows back. So typically most of the lenders in the private banks or NBFCs are not in a position to lend much to this sector, so DFIs will have a better edge there. So there's a proposal to set up a DFIs. That's again a big positive for the banking sector. And we talked about privatization of the two PSU banks and the general insurance company, and government is allocated about 20,000 crores to recapitalize the public sector banks. Of course, this is not 20,000 crores is not really good enough number given the kind of the capital requirement of the public sector banks, but still it's still 20,000 crore is positive side, and maybe there will be a scope for the public sector banks to raise money from the equity market side that could be looked at. And on the insurance side, there's a FDI limit has been increased from 49% to 74%. So more and more foreign capital can come into the insurance sector. That's again a positive side. Only thing is that on the ULIPs, there's been changes in the taxation side. I think that is slightly, negative for the, ULIPs of insurance company. We've talked about the, how the budget has been focused. A lot of its money, a lot of spending on the infrastructure side. So look at the numbers here in the last 5 years. If you want to look at it, almost the infrastructure spending is in fact more than doubling in the last 5 years. From FY 2018, about 2.6 lakh crores of capital spending. And now in this financial year, probably government is going to spend about 5.5 lakh crores, which is slightly, which is more than doubling. In fact, even as compared to last financial year, it's a very good growth of 26%. So this is what government, market is liking. Overall, the government is not taxing the corporate sector or individuals much, and at the same time, government is also increasing the expenditure substantially in the capital expenditure side. That's which is again a positive thing. So overall, this is what is being liked by the market, and which is a good thing. Road sector, within that, roads and railways are the bulk of the money where the capital spending goes into. Almost both of the sectors together take almost something like a 4 lakh crores of money will go into these two sectors alone. The others are other major sector which is getting the good amount of capital spending allocation is the Jal Jeevan Mission, which is basically drinking water program, and a substantial amount of money is being allocated to this segment. Overall, in a good spending and a higher spending on the capital expenditure side is a very welcome move, and this will help the overall economy to come back in a good growth path. Again, the same, with some of the details that we discussed, PLI scheme, government has already been announced prior to the budget itself, taking all together about 13 sectors, with a total outlay of 1.9, almost about 2 lakh crores, spreading over a period of 5 years, which is again, this is the thrust towards, given towards domestic manufacturing. We talked about, Jal Jeevan Mission, a substantial increase in allocation to 50,000 crores. Railway capex, continues to be there. Railways and roads are the big ones, which most of the outlay goes into. Somewhat, so in the overall scheme of the budget proposals, if one were to look at it, I think the lot of money is getting spent on the infrastructure side, which is a good thing. In the past many budgets, rural sector used to get a substantial allocation, but this time I think most of the money is going towards spending towards the infrastructure side. Overall, rural sector is, I would say, slightly subdued in terms of the expenditure side, more so on the MNREGA program, where this is a program where the government spent money towards guaranteeing the sort of wages towards the rural sector. There, I think some sort of a decline has been there in terms of the spending wise. Otherwise, the rural sector also continues to. Outside of this, other for other agri and allied sector, there's been, I would think, the allocation is good enough. Overall, the outlook on the market, equity market outlook is broadly positive. And if you were to look at it in the last 4-5 years, most of the growth in the market is coming from the consumer sector, consumer discretionary and consumer staples kind of a companies. That is what has been a primary growth driver for the corporate earnings in the stock market. There has been a substantial infrastructure and the other capital equipment and power and infrastructure side. These companies have been lagging significantly behind the overall market earnings growth. It looks to me that going forward, especially with the kind of announcement, with the kind of policy push towards infrastructure, the budget is proposing, the capital expenditures, capital equipment sector and infrastructure sectors, which were the laggards for the last few years, slowly, I think they would also come back in the in a growth path is what I think. So that's which is again in terms of sectoral preference side, I think infrastructure and capital equipment, which was a laggard, I think they would probably begin to do well from here on. So as I've been mentioning that no increase in the taxation was a very big positive for the market. There were fears that probably government may have to increase the long-term, short-term capital gains on the equity markets, and also overall corporate profit taxation, which was cut substantially last year. Would there be a COVID cess? All those kinds of fears which were there, and none of those things got materialized, which itself was a positive thing. And as I mentioned that, the numbers were a lot more realistic, with a kind of 14% growth in the nominal GDP, your tax revenues growth assumptions are pretty much realistic. That's again, on the positive side. And also, what was earlier, considered to be off-balance sheet expenditure, which was not shown in the fiscal deficit, they brought back into the, the balance sheet of the, the government. So that is again improves the transparency and, improves the reliability of the numbers of the government. That's again a positive thing. Again, with COVID thing behind us and with the vaccines coming up now, most of the lockdown and fears are now pretty much are behind. Economies are getting slowly opened up, or if not fully opened up already. That will be surely putting us back in a good growth path. And globally and as well as in India, liquidity continues to be very benign. That will also help the overall quicker recovery of the economy. That's again the positive side. And as I mentioned, corporate earnings, and for the coming financial year, expected to grow pretty well, almost about 25-30% in the coming financial year. Even for FY29, what we are, yet to conclude the FY21 earnings, even FY21 earnings are also coming much better than initially feared. That's again a positive side. For the first time after many years, for the FY21, we are seeing actually upgrades toward the Nifty EPS, I would say. So that's again that's why markets are in a very buoyant mode. So so overall, I think there's been quite a good optimistic feeling post the budget. That's the and with the sufficient liquidity, I think markets will probably continue to do well. And the worry is that the valuations, market valuations almost about 22, 24 times of FY22 earnings. Any small negative development or any small slippages, the price, price that we are paying to the stocks is not really, budgeting for any, negative development. That's on the caution, on the worry side. So overall, I think, what we've been liking in the past was, broadly the export-oriented sector like IT and pharma, but we're beginning to turn positive on the domestically focused sectors like infrastructure and cement. With the kind of the money that the government is spending on the economy, I think these sectors which were long absent from the earnings growth side, they will begin to contribute to the overall earnings growth of the broader market. On the fixed income side, it's been, I would say that slightly negative. The budget is slightly negative, more so because government is, government has been resorting to the borrowing program in a bigger way than, to fund the fiscal. So that's the, in fact, on the day of the budget itself, almost about interest rates moved up by about 15 basis points and subsequently another 5-6 basis points. With the kind of, the plan that the government has and the fiscal deficit and the new FRBM structure, it is likely that, the elevated, rather higher level of fiscal deficits will continue for the next few years, the next couple of years. I think that's a little bit of a worry for the overall bond market in terms of excess supply point of view. We have to see how the RBI will address this excess borrowing program impact of that on the bond market. That's hopefully, RBI will come out with the tools such that, the interest rates will still remain in the range bound, at the current levels. But at this juncture, bond markets have already reacted slightly negative, and the yields have already gone up by 20 basis points. I think, we have to wait and see how the RBI's policy will be in the next week or so, in the next few days. I think going forward, I'm sure RBI will, come up with the tools such that, ensure that the interest rates do not go up substantially from the current level, given the higher borrowing program of the government. So we're still optimistic even on the fixed income side, given that already they moved up, yields have moved up by 20 basis points. So that's where that's what our views and opinion about the budget has been. So I leave it here. So we'll try and address that in the Q&A if there are anything which we are missing out. Thank you. Over to you, Ankita.
Thank you, Sampath, for the insightful session. A lot of our audience members have asked questions. They have a lot of questions for you, and we would take them right away. Those of you who would like to drop a question, please use the Q&A panel for it. Do share your name and details as well. Now, moving on to our Q&A session, the first question is from Rajesh Kumar, and Rajesh would like to know what is equity and debt market outlook post the budget, and what should investors do about it?
Right. I think the equity market certainly like the budget in a substantially positive way, and you've already seen the markets moving up. As I covered most of the things in the presentation, market is really like the intent of the government to continue to stay focused on the privatization, and to stay focused on spending on the capital expenditure side. There's substantial allocation towards the capital expenditure side in terms of numbers. There's a good growth there in terms of government spending on the infrastructure side. That's what also market liked. Overall, the budget has been a lot more growth oriented. That's what equity market has liked it. There has been totally no increase in the taxation for the corporate sectors overall. That is also no increases in any of the excise, and no increases in the the GST and profit tax, etc. So that is what equity market liked quite a bit. Even the long-term and short-term capital gains tax, again, that has been pretty much untouched. So all of these things were market were fearing that there would be sort of a COVID cess and all that to shore up the revenues, but government did not do any of these things. So effectively, equity market like the budget. That's on the equity side, and the fixed income side. Since the government is not raising the much of money, incremental money, in the taxing them, increasing the taxes. Obviously they had to borrow this money from the bond market side, because of which bond market has already somewhat reacted negatively. Yields have moved up almost about 20 basis points from the time of the budget. The negative impact is already behind, is what I would think. There's a good. Even in the elevated level of higher fiscal deficit is likely to be there for the next couple of more years as compared to the earlier FRBM Act. So because of that, there will be a somewhat pressure on the supply side, because of more and more borrowings will be government will be borrowing more and more from the bond market side, which yields could go up somewhat. But as I said, we have to see how the RBI will try and address this issue of keeping the interest rates low till the time economy completely comes back on the recovery path. We are hopeful that most of the negative impact on the fixed income side is pretty much behind. There would not be substantial increase in the yields from here onwards. So that's what is our view on the fixed income side.
Sampath, I will now read a few other questions and request to answer. We have Abhishek Sharma asking which sectors look favorably positioned post the budget.
Right. So what Abhishek, what was happening in the equity markets in the last 4-5 years were substantial amount of performance was rather equity market performance has been coming from the consumer sector, consumer discretionary spending. That's what it was showing better and better growth in the earnings and EPS. So these are the sectors which were performing very well in the last 4 or 5 years. So in this budget, I think the government did make a good amount of efforts to improve the spending or improve the expenditure side, or rather, the kickstart the economic growth in terms of by spending more and more money on the capital expenditure side. So going forward, I think infrastructure sectors like capital equipment, power, cement, steel kind of sectors should also do well. That's how I would summarize the impact of the budget on the sectors.
Another question is, with market valuations so high, should equity investors reduce allocation to equities?
So that lot of that is a it's a depends on what is your current level of equity allocation, what is your risk appetite. It is, there's no one answer for this for all set of investors. But yes, I do agree that valuations are on the higher side. And I did mention that most of the so far everything is going right. I mean, the budget has been good. There's been no increase in the taxes, and a lot of spending towards infrastructure side, which is a good spending. And there's been a vaccine, and the lockdown and the COVID effect is behind, so we are on a recovery path. So all those things are good. But for all these good things, how much is the price that we should pay is a challenge. And if one were to look at it there, that by addressing the valuations, I think valuations are on the higher side, vis-a-vis our own Indian market, what it used to trade in the past versus currently where it is trading. That's a bit of a worry. I think very short term, near term, maybe 6 months to 1 year perspective, there's a possibility that we may not make much money from the equities. That's a possibility. But from a 3 to 5 year perspective, I think these excess valuations will get addressed by good growth in the corporate earnings. So I think longer term investors can continue to stay put with their equity allocation.
Another question, a lot of our audience members are asking this: how will the change in taxation for ULIPs impact investors? If you could elaborate that.
Yeah, I think this has been there in this budget, where ULIPs are also now there's changes to the taxation. So far ULIPs have been getting tax benefit under Section 10D, but in this budget, what the government has said that is any investments in the ULIPs. From now on, whatever the investment that you make in the ULIPs from now on, if the annual premium is more than 2.5 lakh rupees, those proceeds will be taxable. That's what the government had said, that they have been pretty much taxable like that of a mutual fund industry. Even if you look at the investments. Either if you are investing directly in the debt or equity, or if you are investing through the mutual fund in the fixed income or equities, there has been a long-term and short-term capital gains. For equities, whether you invest directly or whether you go through the mutual fund route, 10% is the long-term capital gains tax and 15% is the short-term capital gains tax. And similarly for the debt side, up to 3 years is a short-term capital gains tax, and beyond that is the long-term capital gains tax with the indexation benefit. So these things are already there, and to bring them, so a larger ticket ULIPs, which is beyond 2.5 lakh rupees of annual premium, those ULIPs will now be taxed like that of equity mutual fund, which means taxation of about 10% could be there on the unit link side. So that's a change. Obviously, to that extent, I would not call it as a negative development, but whatever the positive advantage that ULIPs had over direct investment or through the mutual or as compared to the mutual funds, I think that benefit is now taken away or reduced, at least to the larger ticket ULIPs. That's how I would think. But again, this is my interpretation of each and individual investor should check with their respective the tax advisor.
Correct. Once again, another question that we have is about are citizens above 60 years benefited in this budget?
I mean, there's nothing I would say specifically senior citizens, but I think some sort of waiver to file for the taxation for people, for the senior citizens whose income is only from the the pension and investment income. There I think do not have to file taxes, but there's nothing specifically targeted about senior citizen per se.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, as we are running out of time now, I'll take one last question. And this has been asked by Deepak Khanna. How salaried class people avail advantage from this budget while there is no change in their tax slabs?
I think the good news from the budget is that there has not been any additional cess or increase to the taxes for the salaried class. I think that's a good news. I would say there's not otherwise there's not much of a change. Given that it's a tough year, there's a budget soon after the the COVID crisis. There were many fears that most of the salaried class could be taxed more, but good thing is that there is no major incremental changes to the taxation. That's what is a positive. No negative news is a good news is what I would say is for the salaried class. Apart from that, there is no major changes towards largely earlier sometimes in the past budget, as I was mentioning, there's been an emphasis towards leaving more and more income in the hands of the consumer, so that the government is so that the government helps the government policy pushes towards towards the consumer spending side. This time the policy measure is largely addressed towards the spending and the capital expenditure side. The budgetary measures are largely focused towards spending on the capital expenditure side, so that the economy comes back on a recovery path quickly. So this time most of the policy measures are not on the consumption side, but largely on the capital expenditure side.
Thank you, Sampath, for this informative webinar. And we do hope we have been able to respond to all the queries from our audience members. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining in. We had over 1,200 participants with us this afternoon. At Bajaj Allianz Live, we look forward to staying in touch with you all and ensuring we are able to play a critical role to get your life goals done. Thank you all and have a great evening ahead.
Thank you, Ankita. Thank you all for joining on this webinar.
समझो हो गया